Today we're going to describe a state of awareness where there's no past, present, or future. Where problems cannot dwell. Where gods or spirits cannot interfere. Where there is peace, everlasting. It's called illumination, enlightenment, spirituality, God consciousness, God awareness, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It means God consciousness in India. And the beatific vision, it's just something that's very natural for many, many, many people. They're called spiritual. They're for the most part unknown, unsought, and yet they exist. They're here, they're part of us, part of the best part of us. And because they're so contrite, humble, subtle, caring, decent, they're always far off in the background. They're rarely known in our everyday lives. It's not just the religious person, even the devoutly religious. It's something transcendent of that, where you don't take part in everyday life whatsoever. You don't advertise it, you don't sell it, yet you'll give it away every moment, every second of your awareness. And now let's move into that place of quiet, calm, equanimity, peace, divinity, because it's a state of, it's called oneness with God. You're not one with God. God is still God. Now we're starting to get very subtle right now to understand this awareness. These people that are illumined, that are close to God, that are sacred, you'll find in every culture, every environment, every place in the world, might be someone's grandmom or their mom, and people just know things. And yet they're not part of our life unless we seek deeply, purely, around the clock to know this condition, this state of awareness. And it's through a condition of great humanity, through humility. You understand higher truths, you live them, you imbibe them, they are you. You become these truths. But they're all transcendent of the everyday. It's in your awareness, your consciousness. When you love someone so deeply, so powerfully, so greatly, and you're a mature person, and then you have a separation from that party, from that person, from that soul, you're not grieving for yourself, you're just trying to let them know you're there for them. And this is the emotional structure, the emotional body of a spiritual person. We're here in hell, and we're just trying to let God gently know that we're here. We're still in adoration of the divine. It's something wonderful, something beautiful, something pure, something true. If you look at the great master painters of the Italian Renaissance period, you'll see all the religious paintings. They're done with the scenes sometimes can be very brutal, but the sacredness of it is undeniable. If you actually see them in a museum, at the Vatican, wherever, many places throughout Europe where they're available to just stand and look at, you're wrapped in awe. Spiritual people around the world are wrapped in awe before God, our Father, our life, our heart, our soul. And that's what I'm talking about. It's so deep, but the everyday person is moving hither and yon to gather whatever he wants to gather to put together the evening meal. And you can do that and be completely spiritual at the same time. And In Buddhism they called it, or in Zen Buddhism, they called it chop wood and or is it gather wood and chop wood and gather and carry water. And it's, we'll jump right to because asked earlier about Zen Buddhism began with the Shaolin Monastery, and all this ties in. He was the gentleman who started Zen Buddhism. He simply looked at a wall in front of him. It was called the Great Doubt Block, and once he understood after 8 years, he was already illumined. He was the master of the Shaolin Monastery. All the monks, they learned martial arts in order to protect and care for, and the citizenry, the other monks, nuns, whatever, the village. In the same way, the great samurai, when they were spiritual, were there to protect civilization. So you weren't worried about having your head chopped off, you were concerned about protecting civilization, the spiritual family that you were born to care for. And all of us are born to care for the only true civilization, which is God. Excuse me for jumping through some hoops here, but I know it's understandable. So in order to rectify every anomaly from peace, freedom, godness in the world, we have to do it within our own consciousness and realize, as Bodhidharma did when he's staring at the wall, he was illumined, but he still had doubts about the world. Psychological. So in Zen meditation, you sit here quietly, allow all your sensorial field to fall to the hara, the base of the stomach, where you gather all your energies. It's instantly transcendent of synapses or brain or any of that stuff. If you're a spiritual person, you instantly are beyond any of those thoughts about the world being real or relevant, except that you're here to dismember the world because it's a horror show. So you gather all your emotions, you just let them fall down to the base of the abdomen, and in a moment you're completely calm. Your breathing's deep, rhythmic, regular, and you fall into a wonderful state. And Bodhidharma saw that he was still thinking and concerned about this or that, and that the rest of the world wasn't happy, even though he was illumined, and happy, so he put all the psychological, all the mental, and the mind is simply looking for something to focus on. It's just an organ of perception, and if you know how to work this, just look at a spot 18 inches in front of you, or a holy painting in front of you, and just quietly, without thought, you exteriorize your concentration, if that's a word, and you're aware of. So emotions down here, mind down here, and you'll feel the energies converge, and just it'll go up like in a puff, and you're a very lightness, and you're not here. And you do this for 30-35 minutes or so, something will happen to you that's so enormous, so unimaginable, so powerful, so beautiful, even if you're an illumined person. I mean, to truly transcend all of this is, it's wonderful. And from that place, it'll give you the peace to outlast any adversary. Adversary meaning anything in our perception of the world that seems to be. Because the world that seems to be is called Maya. The Hindu would call it Maya. It's the illusion. You can read the Christian mystics. Last week I talked about the great Sufi writer Rumi. His poetry, you read it, the world just, it's like a pop. It's not here. Emily Dickinson's writings, of course, convey that in every every word. There is a place beyond thought, beyond time, beyond circumstance, beyond belief, beyond perception. And that's yours. Before the world was, before churches saw light, or names were named, or men were men, before anything was, you were that. If you are spiritual and you're in the world today, you gave that up in order to fall into this infinitesimal dimension that is not real. It is a less than a particle of dust in an otherwise infinitely immense, perfect universe. These are not words from a book. These are what it is. So when you steerize your consciousness along with grounding your emotions, then you're a Bodhidharma. Then you're the master. And it's master of yourself. If you ever watch my buddy Greg with his students, or Pedro next door here, they're master martial artists because they're spiritual. And it looks like rough to your students. To people on the outside, but it's a magical spiritual art and discipline. Everyone loves each other, you're with each other. You would die before you'd hurt the person you're working with. It's like dance or some anything artistic. It's martial arts. Martial means, not just fighting, that's a whole different thing. In a warlike situation, that's a different circumstance. But martial arts training is it's a discipline. Mind, body, and soul. Now, it doesn't matter about any art form. The master artists, we talked about the Italian Renaissance, right? Or Van Gogh, or Rembrandt. They would look at for years before they paint, they'd maybe check out the charcoal, the lighting, the painting. They'd try to understand what's inside of the beauty that they see, that they know they can reproduce. They don't create beauty, beauty is. And they know that. And they're trying to say that in a world that does not care a stick. And they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yes, of course. And if your spiritual beauty is, you can heal the whole world, which is where we're going to get to in this message today. The horrors of the world need not be. And it's up to us to quietly not engage it. The devil, which is this presence, is a very dark, ugly, evil thing. All this pain in the world. How in heaven's name could anyone believe that God, that any God could have anything to do with the pain, the trauma, the violence of this world, the vileness of it? That's the projection of this little tiny force called Satan, the devil, and if you don't give it anything, if you're there just to serve and protect spiritually, it'll all end. Bodhidharma tried it, and it went through all these ages, and then Bruce Lee became popular. My buddy Greg and his teacher, great Grandmaster Mr. Castro, and my teacher Ed Martin, they're all the same, trying to bring something here that has nothing to do with violence. It has to do with art. The life of the painter, of the great painters, is more difficult than the life of the martial artist, because you're going totally into the area of spiritual, emotional, psychological sensibilities, sensitivities. You transcended the body at all. You're not going to use that as your art. You're going to fall into these deep, deep states of perception and then try to reproduce them into the physical world, and you create beauty. And many times you do lose your mind in the attempt, but the mind isn't that much to lose. And today we learned that we can just quietly disengage from the mind. These are not just words. The emotions, quietly. 'Cause, 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 'c Let all your sensibilities fall down into the lower abdomen. You learn to look at yourself, your thoughts, your emotions non-evaluatively. In other words, you don't judge. You have empathy, same you would for a child or a friend or any decent person. It's not coming at you with an axe. You simply, and then even if they are with an axe, you can evade that if you're Greg here, and not be all upset. And then next case. So with emotions, thoughts, you acknowledge them, you're aware, but you give them no credence in the sense that you don't allow them inside of you. That's what we need, non-evaluative. You don't judge it or think it has anything about it, you're just there aware of it. It will go, it will dissipate, it will disappear, it'll go up in a little divine fire like that. It'll just stop. If you look at the devil in the eye, all the evil of the universe, all the things of the world, everything that's ever happened or ever could happen, and you look at Satan in the eye, he will flee from you. And you'll see everything as it's always been, uncreated. Everything spiritual is unconditioned to uncreated. It just is. It's wonderful. It's a sunscape that goes on forever in your heart and soul. You're no longer in your body, which is what enlightenment traditionally was meant to convey. You're a decent, wonderful, kind, true soul. So we step away from the everyday, and we're not noticed, and we're not cared for, and we will not be supported. No one will help you. So you'll have to figure a way to transform that part of the puzzle that you can as an individual. And if you're really good at this, if you really and truly care, you don't stand out there with a placard on the corner. You look at it all with equanimity, without any reaction, and you'll look through it. You'll feel God Himself looking out from your eyes. These are not just words. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place to be. Search the great writings, the poets, the mystics. Most of all, search your own heart and soul and realize there's nothing wrong with you. As soon as you're named in this world, that's where the troubles begin. But we're a volunteer spiritual army. We're here to dismember, to disband, to dissolve, to do away with everything that hurts, everything that doesn't care. And if we know it's an illusion, like in the Eastern religions, where the mystic knows that people think the lives of the mystics were so rough and hard, and you have to give everything up. Nothing could be further from the truth. You give nothing up to be spiritual. You become quite aware, very confident, but you're so humble and contrite inside that people mistake that for weakness. Imagine being aware and part of infinity now. You'll have no doubt about it. The only doubt we have to live with is that we have to end the world around us, each of us. And that's the doubt, and that's the pain, and we have to even transcend that. And because we're spiritual and part of heaven, we can look at this horrible sideshow, and because we know it's not real, we keep looking Satan in the eye. It'll just not be there. It's called illumination, spirituality, God consciousness. Most of all, it's called you. Isn't it you? We all want this peace. There's utter joy, there's happiness, especially for those we love. We'll die for those we love, won't we? But the teaching is to live for those we love. Is to pierce through the darkness with a clean heart and quiet mind. Emotions, thoughts. Exteriorize your thinking, concentrate out here, and somehow you'll feel this thing that thinks, which is simply an organ of concentration. You put it out here and you stop thinking. It's wonderful. And your emotions are settled. You're just happy. And you can sit that way for hours through a life. There are people that do that. And today we're simply saying that you can step even beyond that. And we know it's all a sideshow, but let's end it because it hurts, because it's horrible, because it's awful. We have to protect our loved ones, friends, our family, and this is how we do it. And then deep, deep states of consciousness open up within us. There are many dimensions of spirituality, great places of understanding and wisdom. And yes, you're so quiet, you can see all your family, your friends, your loved ones over the ages. You'll be in touch with all the great souls, all the ancient ones. You know, the great, great teachers, we're aware of them, or great thinkers, or painters, or talking about films before, when now and then there's something that's so great that it approaches true art. And that's the place we want to involve ourselves with, that we want to live with and become. It's called inspiration. It's called adoration. Again, it's called you. If you're spiritual and you're in the world today, there's a reason. And it's not just to improve the socio-political atmosphere whatsoever. It's to, they call it saving souls. It's to illumine souls. Saving, salvation in the scripture meant illumination. It's something very, very quiet, very deep. It's eternal. It's godlike. Because you are. When we look at God with a contrite heart, and it's very quiet, again, it's the area of perception, so think about this a lot. Pick up any of the particular works you like or art you like and just let yourself go into it. Work in your garden, straighten your home out, just step away from the world, and if you get rid of all the rough corners, the square corners like in Chinese paintings, you'll see the beautiful mountains or natural scenes, and you'll see the figures, the human figures are this small always. Because it's nature that's beautiful. If you get a home in China during the ancient times or up to the very near future or present, you look for the surroundings, the feng shui of it, what you view. And you don't have squared corners, you like round the corners off. You place everything in a way that it's not interrupting your sense of nature, the openness, the wildness, the beauty, the serenity of it, the peace of it, and the power of it. And you can do this with your thinking mind, with your emotions, with your perception. If you appreciate a work of art, then you become it. You love something, you become what you love. I've had friends that find homes and paintings and they're showing this, and you can't look at the beauty, really perceive it, because you have to look through the morass of they own it. You can't own beauty, you can try to recreate it artistically, and today's message is spiritually. You are great beauty. And you don't have pride about it. You see what I'm saying? In perception, you work on all these different areas till you're nonplussed about anything. In a sweet way, in a kind way, in a true way. There's one God, one Godness. And you gave up your part in that great work of art called heaven to be here for a very short period of time. To teach others the beauty and dignity of nonconformity in your emotions, in your mind, in your heart and soul. You're not taking part in the everyday. You're transcending it. You're divine art. You're perfect. You're God's beauty incarnate, but you're not incarnate. You gave heaven up to be here, and you appear to be here, and you're not. And that's the sacred truth of you. You are a holy vessel. You are the truth. It's not someone else, it's not somewhere else. It's you, it's now, it's today, it's tonight, it's tomorrow, it's forever. So we spend a little time alone, recalling this, and the magic of this right now is the fact that from this moment on, our Father God will be with us every moment in this time of remembrance. And we'll let go of all the shoulds and coulds and have tos, and we'll all the subtle ways they've assailed the finenesses of our soul and our heart and our emotions in the world, this force that wants to bring us into it, called Satan, Mephistopheles, and 5,000 other names that we hear in our daily vernacular. The control freak, the person that sees you coming, the sociopath, psychopath, the one who buys and sells anything. You go to the marketplace to give. You know what I'm saying? Everyone in this room is spiritual, and you have to prove yourself every moment. There's nothing to prove. Become quiet. You allow like your sense of all your emotions just to fall down deep into the abdomen. And then if your mind's still looking for something, you You'll never be confused again. Not ever. God will be with you. God is with you. God is in you and through you and of you and for you. And God is an infinite, selfless person. By infinite means there is this sense of glory, of utter, infinite, ecstatic consciousness, and yet you contain it very quietly, very purely, very simply, very humanly. And that's why they don't know that we're here. The mystic isn't some person that lived in Rome in the year 212 or wherever, or up in the mountains of the Himalayas, or Rumi himself, or any of these. They've never lived and they never died. And when you're illumined, you know that. In fact, you know everything. This time around, you will fulfill your destiny. You didn't study this or that to become a teacher or a way shower. God made you a teacher. Teach. Thank you very much. Thank you.